You ever have the opportunity to deal with anxious people? Maybe you are the anxious people. I am, or have been for the majority of my life, been very anxious, nervous, worried. I'm not that now, but I spent a large portion of my life where anxiety was the driving force of so much of my poor behavior, period. I mean, sum it up with one word. Now, the poor behavior showed up in a lot of ways. Man, I'm embarrassed of all the ways it showed up. Anyway, but I was just anxious all the time, just all the time about something. And I was so driven and so performance based and so determined. But I was doing all of that thinking that I had the ability to do all of that. And so the more that I succeeded at that, at whatever I was doing, because it didn't seem to matter what I did. I've always been pretty good at most things. I mean, I'm not excellent at anything really, other than striving to be that. I'm pretty good at that. But I was always just pretty average at most things. People gave me a lot more credit than I probably deserved, and I don't really know what to attribute that to. But I think I was promoted socially often, even as a little kid, because I was personable and I was fun and I would try and I would, I was fine if you teased me, but I was always just so nervous that I was worried. I don't know what I was worried about. Like, I think I was worried about looking silly if I wasn't successful. Pardon me. And I just didn't want to look silly. And so I'm a lot of things. Man, the adjectives just go on and on and on. But silly, I am that, for sure. But there's like 4 people in the world that experience the silliness. Because I'm not very good yet at letting go and just being. I've always been so focused on something that something else is driving me all the time, that allowing my brain to be whimsical and give it room to have ideas that are not so concrete was challenging for me, because I was so hungry for knowledge that I didn't have room in my brain to be whimsical. And so I've been blessed with a few friends in my life that excelled at that. That silliness was their superpower, I think. And they really helped me kind of relax a little bit, relax and have a little bit of fun. I mean, I had all kinds of fun. Oh, Lord help us, don't get me wrong. But not silly fun. I went out and, Lord help us, who knows what fun is. I can have fun doing just about anything. And I thought silly, if somebody else was being silly, that was always funny to me. But I didn't want to be that, or didn't have the ability to be that. So anyway, I had the privilege of being really close to this lady that was excellent at it, and she really helped me settle down a little bit and just be able to dance, be able to be silly, make fun of myself. Um, don't be so serious about everything, you know. But anxiety, I could not, no matter how far away I got from my drug addiction, no matter how successful I was in my career, no matter how well my relationships were going, I just had this undercurrent of anxiety. And it wasn't until, I know this is just the theme of my life, until I surrendered all of that control over to God and said, I can't do this. I can't do it. And you know, I'm not a Bible scholar, so before everybody clobbers me, I'm getting the gist of it, okay? I believe it's over 300 times in the Bible it says, do not worry. Do not worry. Don't steal today's joy worrying about tomorrow's problems. Tomorrow will have enough problems for itself. So, one day at a time. And, you know, worry is just lack of faith, you know, because worry is thinking about something that hasn't even happened yet. So there's a lot of things that we can do that are more fruitful than just worrying or just being anxious, where your anxiety kind of paralyzes you, you know. If I can get nervous enough about something, I can just paralyze myself where I don't do anything, and I'll go do 26 other things that make no difference to try to keep myself from having to do the one thing that's making me nervous. You know, we've talked about this before. Procrastination, man, it's one of my most impactful shortcomings at this point in my life. It shows up in my life in a lot of ways. I'm really trying to focus on that and be more intentional with prioritizing my life. It's kind of like a budget. I'm embarrassed to say, okay, and I get it. I'm going to hear all kinds of feedback, and that's fine. I like feedback, so get busy. But, you know, I don't have a budget. I'm almost 50 years old, and I don't have a budget. Well, that's just ridiculous, you know? So, there's a lot of things that I need to do to get more organized in my life that would help me not need to procrastinate so much, because if it was organized and it was purposeful, then it would just be done as you go, and then I'm not in panic mode when it's time to get it done, you know. And thank the Lord I work well under pressure, so when I've gotten anxiety and now that's created procrastination, and then now we're down to crunch time, you know, I've been blessed with the ability to perform well under pressure, which I guess is why I did well in my chosen career path. Because the worse it gets, not the better I like it, I don't mean it like that, but the better that I feel like that I am able to be useful, because I'm able to think under that pressure. And I don't know why that is. I guess God blessed me with that ability. So I've put myself in the position to perform under those circumstances, and I love it. I love being in the pressure cooker. That's enjoyable to me. But I do it to myself unnecessarily, and I'm doing it, you know, I want to go be in the pressure cooker when I can help save somebody's life or make a big impact on a project or a need, or, you know, something like that. I want to do something that's meaningful with my time, not just be busy. You know what I mean? So, but I'm telling you, that peace that only God can provide when he talks about the peace that surpasses all understanding. He can give you peace when there's no peace to be had. When there's no peace to be had. When your mama's dying, when you're burying your baby, when you're sick with something that you can't do anything about, when you're, whatever the circumstances are. You don't just have to sit there and worry, because it does you no good. I mean, it's just using up your time and energy and effort and getting your cortisol all out of whack, which is going to mess everything else up. So if there's any, and I don't mean that I sit over here and I'm never stressed out about anything, but it's rare that I sit and worry. I don't. I have peace in my life, even in the storm, even when I'm sick, even when gotten myself into a pickle and now I'm having to do the consequences, or endure the consequences of my behavior. I can still have peace in that. Even today, when I make choices that I'm not proud of, in retrospect, instead of beating myself to death and being so anxious and so worried, not that I don't do it for a minute, because I'm human over here, Lord. I haven't taken a magic pill that's gotten rid of all my flaws, but I have learned to manage them a little bit better where they don't manage me. If I will do my devotionals in the morning and spend the time with God that I want to, then it seems like that I face the day with less anxiety. I'm able to perform with more clarity. I'm able to be more kind and polite and gentle, and because my personality is already way too much, like it's a lot, which is great if you're on the positive end of that and we're having fun. But if you're on the other end of that, that's not fun for anybody. It's not fun for me to dish it out, and it's not fun for the person that's the recipient of it. But it's something that only he can give you. I looked for peace under every rock, on top of every mountain, in every little nook and cranny, with drugs, alcohol, food, being so driven that I ruined everything else in my life because I was so driven to be, I don't know, driven to be all kinds of things, a whole list of things, you know. But today, even in the storm, and I don't mean the first 5 minutes of the storm, right? We've talked about this too. My first responses are not where I perform the best. When it's me that's in the crisis. Now let me come work on your crisis and I'm going to do that beautifully. But if it's my own crisis, then I can often, my initial reaction is not what I would like it to be, and it needs to be refined, and it needs to be fine-tuned, and it needs a lot of work still today. But the only way that I'm able to manage it at all is to give Jesus a go at it, because I've just did it terribly, and I severed relationships that were precious to me because of my mouth. Because I was anxious, and I would make decisions that were terrible because of my anxiety and the things I was doing to try to tamp down that anxiety. So I wasn't in my right mind to be able to communicate with humans properly, because I was doing everything I can, uppers and downers and all arounders, to try to make myself feel better. And then now that I'm not even, then I got rid of all of my inhibition, which is not a good thing when you have a whole lot of personality, because I need to be reined in. I need to have God with me all day and have his hand over my mouth sometimes, because my mouth is my very biggest blessing, and it is my biggest curse, because I swear I can do more damage in 5 minutes with my mouth than I can correct in years. So, but what I would say to you today, if you're having anxieties, just please plug into God. He is the only salve for it. The only salve for that anxiety. And I don't struggle with that for the most part. Yes, certainly things make me nervous. Don't get me, I'm not Superman, but I don't sit around and worry about everything, even my problems. He gives me the ability to think them through and come up with solutions. And does that mean I get them all right? Lord, no. I get things wrong all the time because I'm shucking and jiving and probably moving too fast. I don't talk very fast, or move very fast really, but I'm thinking and doing a lot all the time, and sometimes I just need to slow down and let God help me. And that's what I've been trying to do, and it's really been working. I would highly recommend it. So take this opportunity, this day we've been given, and go push for excellence everywhere you go.